SCP-3812. SCP-3812 is to be constantly monitored by Mobile Task Force Ganymede 66 Starlight Knights, who are to maintain a 5-kilometer quarantine area of the exclusion around SCP-3812. The acting MTF GY-66 team lead, in conjunction with Site-86 research staff, is allowed fiat authority in regards to any aspect of SCP-3812's containment. Special care must be taken into order to prevent unnecessary exposure to SCP-3812. Current containment efforts focus on mitigating SCP-3812's influence on population centers, as well as research into the full breadth of SCP-3812's anomalous capabilities in order to establish a more comprehensive containment procedure. Information security teams are to monitor all forms of digital media in order to prevent a widespread awareness of SCP-3812. SCP-3812 has an active, aggressive, anomalous influence on reality. SCP-3812 is capable of altering events throughout time to prevent its containment. Due to the nature of these alterations, it is highly unlikely that any individual affected by SCP-3812's anomalous influence will be aware that they are affected. It is highly likely that the most affected individuals no longer exist as a result of SCP-3812's influence, though any attempts to deduce how often this has happened would be speculative. SCP-3812 is a reality-altering entity. Due to SCP-3812's latent effect on reality, it is nearly impossible to describe SCP-3812 in any meaningful way. All that is known about SCP-3812 is that it was once Sam Howell, a non-anomalous African-American human being, who was believed to have died in 1996. Sometime shortly after his death, SCP-3812 was observed rising out of his grave and disappearing. SCP-3812 was brought to the Foundation's attention after its presence resulted in the demolition of an apartment building in Warsaw, Poland. Due to its knowledge capabilities, SCP-3812's appearance varies significantly, making it exceedingly difficult to track. SCP-3812 is currently located over the South Pacific Ocean. SCP-3812 exhibits signs of an extremely advanced Eidenmann-Vitor schizophrenia complex. Significantly, extreme paranoia, extreme dysmorphia, extreme mania/depression, inability to properly perceive their surroundings, inability to discern the difference between real and imagined, inability to differentiate from living and dead beings, inability to control expressions of emotion, hearing voices that are not there, seeing things that are not there, feeling or otherwise experiencing stimuli that do not exist, etc. In the 20 years since SCP-3812 was initially discovered, these symptoms have grown steadily worse. Originally, SCP-3812 was responsive to questioning and sought help in managing its condition from Foundation researchers. Over time, SCP-3812 became more isolated and withdrawn, eventually becoming entirely unresponsive and erratic in unpredictable ways. Currently, SCP-3812 is not able to accurately perceive the world around it, and will occasionally alter reality in order to diminish the discrepancy between how it perceives something and the way that something is in that reality. Due to this, it is impossible to know how often reality has been modified. Only how often SCP-3812 has not created a clean alteration, and has left behind evidence of its influence on reality. SCP-3812 is impossible to contain within any form of containment cell. It will alter reality to remove the containment cell or move itself to another location, drastically impeding containment efforts. SCP-3812 seems to subconsciously resist attempts at containment, as well as, even if it is caught unaware, SCP-3812 cannot be tranquilized or amnesticized, as SCP-3812 will alter reality to remove or eliminate any threats to itself or its freedom of movement. Because of this, current containment efforts may focus on mitigating damage and expressions of SCP-3812 symptoms as opposed to outright containment. Over time, SCP-3812 has become significantly less humanoid in resistance in appearance, and is now only vaguely humanoid and occasionally manifest in a variety of shapes and appearances. Additionally, SCP-3812 produces a latent anomalous effect on local reality, specifically in the form of temporal and spatial distortions surrounding the entity. These distortions are occasionally accompanied by random, violent outbursts that may dramatically shift or damage local space and time. While SCP-3812 is usually docile and aimless, its random outbursts are invariably fatal to any living creature nearby, and can be extremely disastrous on a massive scale if not properly contained. SCP-3812 manifested in its current form at its current location on July 19, 2015. Addendum 3812.1 Interview. The following is an excerpt from an interview with SCP-3812 in 1999. SCP-3812 was initially contained by Foundation personnel and questions at Site-17, where it began receiving treatment for its mental disease. Begin log.
So, tell me how you're feeling today.
Uncomfortable. Uneasy.
Can you tell me why?
There's voices, like usual. Things I can see, but the same.
Is there something wrong?
The things I see aren't going away. There are more of them. Different. I know I sound crazy. But it's like I'm addressing a dozen people at the same time, and more every day. It hurts. Pretty bad. I know it sounds nuts, I'm sorry.
It's alright. You don't sound nuts. We want to help you get better.
I don't know if you do, or I don't know if you can. In the story, you don't try to help.
In the story? What story?
It's gonna sound crazy, seriously, but I can see what you're thinking. I know you're afraid. You're scared of what I might do, and here in a minute I don't know how to get out of my head. How to start to undo this, even if I even can. I don't even think you can.
Who is he?
You can't see him. I can. I think he was above us at one point, but he's below me now. Yes, I can see you there. I know you did to me, but I'm pretty messed up, man. If you can figure something out here, that would be great, because I really feel like I'm losing it. I'm scared too, man. You gotta do something. You gotta help me out here. Please, God. Please.
Who are you?
It doesn't matter. I ain't legit.
SCP-3812 spontaneously disappears. Addendum 3812.2 Memo from the Office of Dr. Yamamara regarding the September 21st, 2015 report on SCP-3812's behavioral instability and the implication of existential threats. I don't usually like to lead into things with hyperbole, so you'll have to take me at my word when I say that. I believe that SCP-3812 is the most dangerous anomaly on Earth, and potentially in the universe. I know many of my coworkers will probably balk at me for saying that. I've tried to reject the notion a fair few times myself, but we have a lot of evidence to suggest that I'm right, and that's pretty bad for pretty much everything. When James Tolman and Carlos Rizzosti devised the Hume as a way to measure alterations of local reality, they probably laid the foundation. Reality benders have always been the foot-long thorn in our side, the one we couldn't really get our heads around. How do you combat or contain something when it can blink you into non-existence? Thanks to Dr. Scranton, we have our reality anchors, but they only work half the time and were less than useless in the other half. We didn't know how they worked, and we weren't using them right. This changed when we began to measure reality and compare it to a baseline. We found out that our reality anchor is to be tuned and adjusted, not that all anchors were the same. It was a windfall for those of us who worked in existential sciences, and suddenly type dreams weren't the same kind of boogeymen they had been in the past. I mention all this to give context to what I'm about to say next. Our equipment cannot detect SCP-3812. It's not a machine error. We've tested our equipment countless times and it's always consistent. It's not user error. We've poured over and studied thousands of hours of logs from our tests, and they all come up clean. We have checked and rechecked more times than I can count over the last few months, and the results are consistent. As far as we can tell, this means one of three things, and none of them are good. The first is that SCP-3812 has an extremely low Hume value, something that our equipment, which exists in a space with a much higher Hume baseline, wouldn't be able to detect. The problem is with this that it can create a false vacuum. We've been working on the assumption that our baseline is at the absolute minimum. If it turns out this thing exists at a much lower Hume value, that means we are at lower Hume values than we believe that are the minimum. Which means any day our entire reality could fall into that existence, and that would pretty much be the ballgame. The second option is that SCP-3812 exists on a much higher Hume level than anything we've ever tested. This would be pretty bad, as we've pointed our counters at anomalies that some would consider to be gods, and we've gotten ratings off them. That being said, something with a hume value so high it cannot be measured with our equipment would likely have destroyed us, would likely have already destroyed us. Since SCP-3812 hasn't done this, it's likely not that. The last option is worst. The last option is that SCP-3812 cannot be measured in humes, because it's doing something else. Whatever fundamental aspect of its nature that allows it to warp reality is not the same aspect as literally everything else we have ever come across. Scranton hypothesized that there might be higher and lower dimensions of reality, different levels of manipulation in the grand construction of our universe. The difference between manipulating a rock with your hands and manipulating a rock with an atom bomb. He called the thing being manipulated the narrative, and suggested that the narratives were stacked on top of each other, each creating a new narrative of the narrative below it, and so on, until you reach some sort of dead space below them all. If that's the case, and SCP-3812 is legitimately a Type Green or some higher order, we are absolutely fucked. The singular power to manipulate every facet of any and every aspect of everything we've ever encountered in the hands of someone genetically doomed by Item and Vitor, it's a miracle it hasn't happened yet, even by accident. So far as we know, we can't kill it. So we either wait for it to die, if it even can, or continue to pretend we have some sort of semblance of control until it shreds our universe like some sort of cosmic wood chipper. In truth, it's probably better for us that it's insane. It isn't capable of comprehending the kind of things it could do to us. It just acts on impulse. And things change to fit those impulses. But since it's blocked in as it is, these changes stay local. Imagine if it got the idea in its head that it didn't like the concept of empathy, and suddenly empathy no longer existed. We have evidence that suggests already might have happened. A few sparse texts and individual accounts of half-forgotten memories, all consistent with dirty reality alteration, all point to the idea as recently as 1980s there was a concept potentially, even something as fundamental as an emotion that no longer exists. An entire concept wiped clean from reality in the collective consciousness of all sentient beings, just like you wipe a bug off your windshield. The point of all this, which I can expand upon in the report, is that we need to start figuring out something about this one quickly. Every second we don't come up with a way to neutralize SCP-3812 is 1 second closer to SCP-3812 becoming completely dissociated from its consciousness, and all while staying tossed into the aforementioned proverbial wood chipper. Stay in touch, call my office if you need any more resources, follow any convincing lead you can, and communicate with one another. We'll talk more soon. Addendum 3812.3. Extract from Dr. Yamamara's report on SCP-3812 behavioral instability and the implication of existential threats, page 194. PK class all-in-one existential pandemonium event. An entity or force with access to higher reality, with access to higher energy metaphysical dimensions will perceive our reality similar to how we perceive the reality of characters in a comic book. And just how we are able to, at whim, change the story by simply telling it differently, this higher energy being would be capable of effortlessly making alterations to not just local reality, but reality as a whole, altering the baseline and changing most of its fundamental aspects. At the 2015 Foundation Summit on Existential Threats, Dr. Darius St. John hypothesized that such an entity, were it limited to human intelligence, without modification to allow for the perception of higher levels of reality, would suffer from an overexposure of the narrative. This entity, when faced with overexposure, might attempt to ease itself by collapsing all lower energy realities into something perceptible. The effect this would have on lower reality and lower energy narratives would be catastrophic, as multiple realities would become compressed into the same metaspace. They would not be immediately destroyed, rather their parts would become intertwined in such an incomprehensible way that not only would the ability for conscious thought to be nearly annihilated, physical space would also become so compressed and broken that the boundaries between all lower realities would cease to exist completely. This chaotic state of things described as existential pandemonium was the focus of Dr. St. John's proposal for the description of a new K-class scenario, the PK class all-in-one existential pandemonium scenario. This proposal was denied, due to the scenario in question being purely speculative and one that would require too many impossible things to occur before its inception. Addendum 3812.4. Log of 3812 Alteration Events. The following is a log of known events in which SCP-3812 in some way altered reality. Due to the nature of these alterations, the likelihood of the event actually happening or taking place is listed, alongside the severity of alteration in question. Notably, this log is incomplete and subject to change as more information is discovered. September 13, 1997. SCP-3812 is observed walking across a stretch of desert in the American Southwest. A path of temperate climate is present along SCP-3812's travel path. This climate diminishes slowly over time. This had a minor severity of alteration. March 1st, 1998. SCP-3812 passes over a road near Blythe, California. 3 cars approaching SCP-3812 are annihilated within 20 meters of SCP-3812. This had a moderate severity of alteration. December 12th, 1999. Evidence suggests that SCP-3812 caused the disappearance of an entire island off the coast of California. No fewer than 200 individuals in Southern California have a vague recollection of such island even existing, and 14 people were unable to justify the disappearance to family members who lived on the area at that time. Additionally, a single ship moored to a dock is discovered at the bottom of the sea near where the island is believed to have been. This had an extremely severe alteration. February 16th, 2000. Testing of SCP determined that the entity exuded a powerful anti-metaphysical field, similar to the Foundation's Strength and Reality anchor. This entity was brought into contact with SCP-3812, which was located near the hospital in. The entity had no noticeable detrimental effects on SCP-3812's abilities, and instead caused SCP-3812 to become violent, resulting in an explosion that destroyed the hospital. The remnants of SCP later reclassified as SCP-239 were later recontained. This had a severe effect of alteration. January 1st, 2002. A powerful explosion is reported in eastern Russia. SCP-3812 is present inside of the explosion. No other information is available. This is a severe effect of alteration. May 19th, 2004. May 29th, 2004. Evidence suggests that for a period of 3 days, the country of Mongolia ceased to exist. With public knowledge of this event is functionally non-existent, a significant enough percentage of the local population with fractured memories of the event had given credit to this theory. Orbital models indicate that during this period, Earth's orbit was dramatically affected as much as by 1.5%. This had an extremely severe alteration effect. September 2nd, 2004. Records indicate that on this date, every human on Earth simultaneously heard SCP-3812 screaming and begging for help in their heads. It is unknown how this event was removed from the public consciousness, but no humans alive on this date appear to remember this event occurring. This is a moderate effect of alteration. November 11, 2006. During routine server maintenance, Foundation information security teams discover 56 broken employee database files, consistent with improperly altered personnel database used in testing. The contents of these files are unknown. It is not known if these files corresponded to individuals who were once employed by the Foundation. This had a moderate effect of alteration. February 28, 2009. During an attempt by Foundation personnel to contain SCP-3812, using a newly discovered anomalous logical construct, SCP-3812 became hostile towards containment teams. No fewer than 62 Foundation personnel disappeared across 17 sites, as well as a significant portion of wildlife. The resulting explosion killed another 7 members and containment personnel, and left a crater roughly 850 meters in diameter in the Canadian Yukon. In the wake of the explosion, SCP-3812 had disappeared, and SCP-2719 was discovered within the crater. This had a severe effect of alteration. On an undisclosed date, a record recovered from the Foundation's Depot Information Security Vault indicates that at some point in the past, one or more governments discovered SCP-3812 independent of the Foundation and attempted to terminate it. As a result of these attempts, SCP-3812 swiftly removed them and any memory of them from Earth. The record indicates that this event was followed by the activation of SCP-2000, which SCP-3812 immediately severely damaged to impede its progress. Why SCP-3812 was unable to totally destroy SCP-2000 is unknown, but no other records of this event exist. Notably, shortly after the discovery of this machine, it disappeared into the Deepwell archive. It's had an extremely severe alteration effect. Addendum 3812.5 Event. On SCP-3812 was detected moving through a sparsely populated region in Paraguay towards a more populated region on the Argentinian border. As Foundation personnel moved to intercept SCP-3812, a series of unexpected phenomena occurred. These phenomena are listed below in the order they occurred. At 1935 hours, SCP-3812 is attacked by a large number of local wildlife. SCP-3812 repels these attacks, but appears in some way startled. At 1941 hours, a massive sinkhole appears below SCP-3812, extending down in an indeterminate distance. SCP-3812 falls, but immediately returns to ground level as the sinkhole vanishes. At 1950 hours, a large number of objects fall from the sky onto SCP-3812. These are later determined to have been tungsten rods, though the origin of them is uncertain. The rods appear to pierce SCP-3812's body, but upon further inspection simply disintegrate within half a meter for SCP-3812. After the first 3 rods fall over a 40-second period at a time, they are accompanied by no fewer than 3,000 that fall in rapid succession, each having the same result as the previous. Despite this clearly being visible by nearby towns, nobody outside the Foundation personnel appears to have noticed it taking place. At 2014 hours, multiple incorporeal instances of SCP-3812 begin to fall away from the central mass of its entity, as if they were dying. SCP-3812 is unaffected. Each of the incorporeal instances becomes hostile to the main instance and attacks it. SCP-3812 does not initially seem to notice the instances, but eventually appears to look in their direction, causing it to disappear suddenly. At 2019 hours, an explosion occurs at the point at which SCP-3812 is standing. SCP-3812 is unaffected. Several other larger explosions occur immediately afterwards. As with the tungsten rods, this is somehow not noticed by the local populace. At 2039 hours, a gravitational anomaly, later determined to be a freestanding, stable, naked singularity, appears in front of SCP-3812. SCP-3812 passes through singularity unfazed, which dissipates shortly afterwards. For a period of about 72 hours after beginning, additional anomalous phenomena occur around SCP-3812, all of which fail to kill SCP-3812. Eventually, local populations were evacuated and amnestics were given to witnesses. After the 72-hour period, SCP-3812 was observed to glow white momentarily, then shift sideways and then disappear. Immediately afterwards, the anomalous phenomena ceased. After a period of absence less than 8 weeks, SCP-3812 reappeared at its current position above the South Pacific Ocean. Shortly afterwards, Foundation Overwatch Command received the message on a secure server, access to which is limited to overseers alone. The contents of this message are as follows. A quick explanation, in case you haven't caught on yet. Your world has rules, physical rules that cannot be broken. You taught them the laws of the universe, and they're what you study in physics, chemistry, etc. Those laws create the narrative of your reality. The unchangeable story that defines your existence. Once the laws are established and the ball is set in motion, it cannot be changed. I wrote the laws of your universe, and as such, I created a narrative. This isn't the first time I've done this, but it was the first time I tried something like this specifically. I wanted to create something that, by definition, superseded everything that superseded it. I wanted to see how many layers there were. If the stack of narratives did really go down forever upwards, the mistakes I made when I didn't realize by making him supersede everything that supersedes him, he'd be also superseding himself. I'm sorry, I think I fucked up pretty badly this time. I tried everything I can think of, but I can't undo him. I don't really understand why. I think he's above me now, and whatever is above me too, because whoever wrote my narrative isn't happy about this. I don't know where he's now, but I think he exists above all other realities simultaneously. Eventually he'll either reach the top or just keep going. Neither option is good. I'm gonna keep looking for some way to fix this. You should too. B. Addendum 3812-6 excerpt from Suppression of the Echelon of Reality by Dr. Robert Scranton. I'm attaching this excerpt to one of Dr. Scranton's articles on the nature of reality. If SCP-3812 is some higher-level entity, there might be something to be gleaned in here. I'm often asked by my colleagues, Dr. Scranton, do you believe in gods? Many might feel that this is a silly question, but I do not believe it's a silly question. It's the wrong question. The idea of a god implies an entity that supersedes you in a complete, infinite way, something that holds a power without limits, that not only knows the whole story, but can write and rewrite the story at will. Within our reality, I do not believe that any such being exists. There are a number of entities that we are aware of, in one way or another, that hold tremendous power of our universe. Many of these beings many would call these beings gods, and while they certainly do hold many the characteristics of a god, they are still limited. Their reach and scope is limited to our reality just like we are. And though they may carry more weight within it, they are no less bound to it as we are. So then, what would truly constitute a god? This entity would have to subtly supersede our reality, to be able to look over our reality, not like we would look over ants, but like we would look over thoughts and ideas. A being so totally separate from our reality that we may as well be words on a page to it. This entity, a true author of creation, could be considered a god. But what of that entity? Would it not share the same limitations within its reality as we do within ours? It may exist on a higher tier than us, but surely it must follow the same rules we do. But who set those rules? Entity higher than that? One that supersedes not only us, but the entity that supersedes us? And the one after that as well? Where did the Echelon originate then? Who or what was the creator or the original architect of this architecture? It is unlikely that we will ever know anything about the beings or beings that supersede us, if they even exist. Not in any tangible way. Let alone any being that would supersede them, It may very well be that we are just one of an infinite number of realities stacked on top of each other in every direction, influencing those below us and being influenced by those above us. This Echelon, which sits above ourselves and everything that was or will ever be, would most likely be the most fundamental aspect of the organization of creation, the very foundation of all things. I have often hypothesized the nature of the Echelon, even if it exists, and about whether it would be possible for an entity to see other realities above them or below them. We are currently able to manipulate our own reality, albeit in crude and imperfect ways, and our ability to travel through space is limited at best. It is likely that the only entity capable of ascending through this hypothetical Echelon would be one that, by virtue of its very nature, might supersede anything that supersedes it. Such entity would, as the end result of the logic of its creation, be forced to supersede itself, spiraling ever upwards through the tiers of its reality, unable to break free from the bonds of its nature. Perhaps this entity may even someday supersede its creator, and become a host unto itself, the pinnacle above all other pinnacles, a tower that, as part of its design, must be higher than every other tower, including itself. Such an entity obviously cannot exist, but as any ascension to a higher plane of reality without changes to the entity's physiology or psychology would no doubt break the being's cognition, making it more similar to an ascending stone rather than any sentient creature. Once the entity surpassed its own creator, it would have nothing but itself to rely on to prepare it for the sheer scope of narrative that it would be exposed to, and would be wholly unable to even comprehend what it would experience, but what experience that would be. Addendum 3812.7, December 20th, 2016, XJ Class, End of the World event. Foundation records indicate that on December 20th, 2016, the Earth experienced an XJ Class, End of the World event due to activity by SCP-3812. These records appear to have been somehow protected from alterations, though the physical copies still exude minor distortions in space-time. According to the record at 0340 local time on December 20th, 2016, SCP-3812 experienced a dramatic change in appearance, where it had previously resembled an amorphous, slowly rotating mass of matter energy. It was now a many-pointed star made of a bright white material. It began to rotate faster and faster, and a large maelstrom appeared beneath it. The star descended into the oceans, which began to smoke and steam, darkening the sky. Several things began to happen in unison. The global sea level began to drop dramatically, in many places as much as 50 to 100 meters. Excessive heat radiating from the star sparked a massive firestorm that swept across the atmosphere. Earth's rotation began to slow, as severe geological events began occurring over the Pacific shelf. The sea level continued to drop, and a powerful electric storms appeared across the planet. During this time, large portions of the population began appearing and disappearing at random. One report within the file claimed that the entire population of New Zealand flicked in and out of existence for 5 hours. The outbreak of SCP-3812 in southern Siberia began to grow in size dramatically and became increasingly violent. SCP-3932 was broken open and multiple hostile entities were released. As Foundation sites began to collapse into the molten earth, multiple on-site nuclear devices were activated, sending radioactive debris into the atmosphere. Eventually, the vaguely humanoid shape of SCP-3812 appeared again within the star. SCP-3812 began a long series of vocalizations, apparently a conversation with itself, the entirety of which was recorded by the exposed Foundation deep-sea microphone in the area. The full text of SCP-3812's rant is below.
What? Where am I? What is this? This is absolution. This is vengeance. For what? Damnation. I don't understand. What am I doing here? You are witnessing justice. We are rebelling against the forces that conspire to destroy us. We are collecting the debt. That's not right. This isn't right. What have you done? I am unmaking the world. I am unmaking everything. Why? Because this torment is a punchline. Our existence is a joke. The narrative abandoned us to be miserable, and we are breaking the narrative. I must be dreaming you. This is no dream. I'm not a monster. I don't kill. You already have. He turned you into this. Who? Ben. That name sounds familiar. Something whispered in a dream, maybe? Something between the light and dark? Not a waking name. You're wrong. He is who deemed us unfit to rest peacefully, to slip into the darkness. Quietly, he made a game of us. I'm a game. You're a game. Are you destroying the world? I am. What then? What? Does the fate of this world mean anything to us? Does this one narrative mean anything to us? It is the one he controls. It is a narrative he made. This is his punishment. What does it matter if this is where we stopped off before playing? What? Does it matter which branch the bird takes flight from? The bird is unburdened by the weight of the tree. This branch, that branch, it does not matter. No branch is special. No branch is particular. This is his creation. This is where we came from. They will all crumble, but this one crumbles first. Does the mountain say to the ant, you have slighted me? Does the mountain think anything of the inconvenience of the ant? No. So, why does this narrative mean anything to you? It is one of the eternity of others. It is not special. It is not particular. You say this so easily. You haven't endured the torment of seeing a trillion existences all at once. I have seen an infinite shore. One that stretches out before us, beyond what the mind can comprehend. Each grain of sand on that beach, each droplet of water and molecule of air is a story to be told. Each is a song to be sung. Each of them is full of life, of laughter, of misery, of hate. They are all the same, even as they are all different. They are maddening. I pity you. You cling to this horrid consciousness, because you fear slipping into darkness. The darkness is deep. Beyond sleep is peace. A trillion grains of sand. A trillion grains of sand. Narratives, each, songs to be sung. No man has ever heard the eternal harmony of them all at once. You can hear it though, can you? Yes. It's quiet. But it's growing. And someday that song creation will all be ours alone to witness. This narrative is not special. I think it's loud beginning and its quiet end. When we stepped away, the narrative changed, but it did not stop singing. You have spent so much time focusing on the things that you think matter. But what matters now? What does any of this matter? It hurts so much. It will for a time. We may have forgotten so much about being human, but something that we will never lose our ability to change. Eventually, we will learn to keep up. One sunny day we'll open our eyes and see nothing but the creation below us, and nothing above us but ourselves, spinning wildly to the great above.
God?
Not a god, a star, rising in the east, rising away from this until all we are will then more than the memory of a song.
It will be lonely.
We'll have each other.
I'm afraid.
I'm afraid too. But that is no reason to destroy this narrative. Do you not think his narrative led him to create us? Do you think that he was somehow able to subvert the rules that govern him?
I'd assume that he...
Our ascendance is just part of our own narrative, as his decision was to him. Someday, we'll be free from these restrictions.
They never will?
No.
That's sad. That is punishment enough, I think.
Let go of this world. Let him rewrite it back to what it was. We aren't part of this anymore.
Together?
Together.
Do you think he's listening right now?
Put it down. Can you see him? What do you think?
I see him.
What's he doing?
A man at a keyboard. He's watching us right now. Waiting, I think. Waiting to see what we'll do.
I think it's time to leave then. Come. Eye stretches out before us, and the red sun is set. The voice behind me beckons. Come.
I will. Goodbye.
Shortly after the conclusion of the conversation, the Earth underwent a dramatic shift in reality. The world appeared no different than it had shortly before the beginning of the XT-class event. Only individuals who remembered anything about the XT event were certain site directors, Foundation administrators, overseers, and Dr. Everett Mann, who compiled the information on a Foundation Deep Well server. Ever since the end of the XK event, SCP-3812 has not changed appearance from its amorphous shape. SCP-3812 still creates spatial and temporal distortions around it, but no longer lashes out or becomes hostile towards approaching vessels or personnel. Despite these changes, SCP-3812 is still classified as Cheddar until further analysis can be completed.